go to Volunteer. And on paper, Crockett should cruise in that game. If you can beat Science Hill by almost 30 points, you should be able to deal with Volunteer.
Yeah, that coach's speech, if you're Volunteer, okay, guys, let's keep it.
Keep it under 30.
Let's keep it within a few. I mean, because, again, they are a very good football team, of course. Going on the road, you never know in Hawkins County.
That's true. Speaking of Hawkins County, Cherokee down in Rogersville took care of Sullivan South. That was a bit of a surprise. I think we both missed that one in our picking last week. Cherokee won the game 32-30. This game featured 8 lead changes and pretty much came down to whoever had the ball last. Senior quarterback Colin Trent, he scored the go-ahead touchdown for Cherokee with 2:14 left to play, so the game was never really decided until the very end. He wound up with 160 total yards and 4 touchdowns, so he was pretty much a one-man wrecking machine in that game. South running back Julian Reed had 267 yards, but it wasn't nearly enough. This week, Cherokee goes to Morristown East. That's going to be tough. That's a tough place to go in to play ball. And then South goes to Granger County, where I think they have a chance to righten their ship.
You know, you talk about Cherokee South, you know, that huge offensive line has not been able to get it done. But Trent missed all of last season with a knee injury. Now he's back. It's kind of like they've, just picked up where, they left off 2 years ago. Good offensive team. And, Cherokee at 2-0. I think they entered the top 5 for CYBs. I know that they're doing their top 5. A couple things coming through here. Looks like Gate City leads. They're right now at Sullivan East. Volleyball, looks like the varsity is in the first set. Very back and forth so far. Gate City leads 13-12 in the first set.
Another game I wanted to mention, and this one was a whole lot closer than the score indicates. Greenville took down Daniel Boone 31-14. Greenville trailed early, but once they got rolling, they rolled. I was giving updates Friday night during the game, and it just suddenly the next thing you know, it's 31-14. It seemed like it was a lot closer the entire game. Greenville, though, came out and scored 31 unanswered points. 3 first-half turnovers, though, is what kept that game close. Greenville wound up with their normal gaudy 431 yards of offense. Ty Youngblood had 108 yards on 15 carries. That comes out to a little bit over 7 yards a carry. Next week, Boone goes to Tennessee High. That has a potential to be a good game. Either team could really come out of there with a win. Greenville hosts Union County. I look for Greenville to just keep up their winning ways.
That's on one of the pick'em panels. Another update just came through. I want to say thank you to Tanner Cook, who is on our pick'em panel. He's covering Gate City and Sullivan East live right now. East has stormed back. It's 23-20 first set. East trying to close out that first set against our Lady Devils. So, again, back and forth we go with them. So, Chris, if you'll finish up Northeast Tennessee.
Okay, really quickly, Joe. A game that I think also caught both of us by surprise. Sullivan North went into Johnson County with Johnson County's unheralded defense, took care of business, came out with a 12-7 win despite having 4 interceptions.
Yeah, that's, again, a very good defensive team. They did give up the 12 points, but I still, I stick with the Longhorns for the season from a defensive standpoint. But, again, you got to give the Fighting Preston Patrick some credit, to go to there and to come out being 2-0. That's
and actually make it out of Mountain City.
And able to talk about it. So, yes, indeed.
This week, North goes to Cosby. Ordinarily, I would take in Cosby, but 2 weeks in a row, North has managed to pull out wins when in reality they probably shouldn't have. So, I say go Raiders. And Johnson County goes on the road to Chucky Doak. The last game, really quickly, I wanted to cover was Volunteer and Sullivan Central. We were laughing about that game coming out to a 3-2 final.
Yeah, Larry and Andy picked a 3-2 score. The safety would be the most exciting part of the game.
Well, the opposite happened. The offenses showed up and the defenses didn't. Volunteer won the game 37-28. Cameron Johnson rushed for 113 yards, scored Volunteer's first 3 touchdowns. Central quarterback Will Nottingham, he's having a decent season, threw for 2 of their touchdowns, and he rushed for the other 2. So he kind of took care of business himself on that.
So that is Northeast Tennessee. Really quick around Southwest Virginia, talking about the Abington Falcons. Abington blasted John Battle. Again, their star running back, Lucas, had 130 yards, 3 touchdowns total, as Abington knocked off John Battle 45-14. Wise Central making another statement, beat Eastside 51-20. Wise Central, again, the best team you're probably going to nobody's talking about in Southwest Virginia. Chilhowie in Marion. It was a 32-26 game. Chilhowie added a couple in the fourth quarter, and won that ball game 46-26. Honaker and Lebanon, 2 rivals, go back and forth. A defensive struggle it was. Honaker comes out 14-0. Patrick Henry, again, their dynamic duo, they had about 350 yards rushing. Blast Castlewood 41-6.
Plus, they had the awesome name. Someone out there needs to get me a Patrick Henry Rebels T-shirt. XL, please.
Maybe 2.
Well, 2 XL. I can make them work.
Rye Cove knocked off Jenkins by forfeit. Tazewell, the upset in Southwest Virginia we talked about. Tazewell absolutely took Virginia High to the woodshed, 55-14. Tazewell, a lot of speed. Of course, they will play Graham this week coming up. Thomas Walker went back and forth with this pick. Cumberland Gap, the previous week had a huge fight. Several guys got kicked out. Thomas Walker took 18 players to Cumberland Gap and came away with a 35-12 win. Twin Springs went on the road. Coach Warner, former Gate City assistant coach, of course he graduated from Twin Springs, went, and the Titans took out the Panthers 30-14 on the road. Impressive win for them. Scott County teams are 3-0 to start off the football season. And Union knocked off Lee. That game was not as close as even the 41-7. Lee just had nothing in that rivalry game.
Joe, let's not forget you left one team out. Rye Cove came out with the big win Friday night over Jenkins. Oh, did you mention that one?
Yeah.
Okay, I missed that one. I'm sorry. I was getting some notes here from some patronages and some patrons, and I kind of missed that. My apologies. Rye Cove did have the big win over Jenkins by forfeit.
So 2-0 is the official score there. All right, so we'll take a quick break, come back. We'll talk about our Premier Pharmacy players of the week. New segment coming up, tweet it or delete it, and a couple other things coming down the pike. Again, you're listening to the home of Blue Devil Sports. This is Gate City Sports Radio.
Dedicated to a lifetime of serving others, Maria Calabro continues her pledge to help the residents of Scott County as she is running to become supervisor in District 2 this November. Proudly calling Scott County home all of her life, Maria has studied, worked, and gained valuable experiences by helping not only those in our area, but all across the country and even the world. Maria looks to put her wealth of knowledge and experience to work for Scott County to build infrastructure, create jobs, and help make Scott County a better place to live, work, and raise a family. This November, the candidate in District 2 you need to know is Calabro. Please follow her on Facebook and support her in the general election. Paid for by Maria Supervisor.
You are listening to the home of Blue Devil Sports. This is Gate City Sports Radio.
Proudly representing Southwest Virginia in the House of Delegates for the last 24 years, Terry Kilgore continues to strive and work hard for others. Just like our Gate City Blue Devils proudly represents our school, our town, and community. Delegate Kilgore, a proud Gate City alumni himself, wants to thank the residents of the 1st District for their trust and support over the years as he's continued to voice our needs and concerns in Richmond to make our region a tremendous place to live and work. And on behalf of Delegate Kilgore and his family and staff, they say, Go Big Blue!
And we are back here live from the Campus Drive-In, Kane Street, Gate City, Virginia. Again, I want to say thank you to everybody for their support. I want to say thank you again for Coach Daugherty and his group that came out for interviews. And let's go through a few other items here on our show. Do want to announce our Premier Pharmacy Player of the Week awards. Again, each week, Premier Pharmacy selects talented individuals who demonstrated excellence and outstanding effort in the football matchups around Northeast Tennessee, Southwest Virginia, and for our Gate City Blue Devils. Those honorees qualify for our annual Premier Pharmacy Player of the Year awards. Those will be voted on later in the season. This week's Premier Pharmacy Southwest Virginia Player of the Week is Ridgeview's running back Trenton Adkins. In Thursday's 40-13 season-opening win over J.I. Burton, Adkins rushed 21 times for 357 yards and 5 touchdowns. He scored on runs of 3, 5, 10, 39, and 88 yards, and propelling the Wolfpack to over 500 total yards of offense and closing out the game with 33 consecutive points. This week's Premier Pharmacy Northeast Tennessee Player of the Week is David Crockett's quarterback, Cade Larkins. On Friday night again with that huge win, 62-34 over the Science Hill Hilltoppers. He threw for 325 yards, 21 of 30 with 5 touchdowns. They did build that 27-point lead in the middle of the second quarter and never looked back. They had a total of over 600 yards of offense. And the Premier Pharmacy Gate City Players of the Week are the quartet of Carson Jenkins, DeAndre Mack, Michael Calhoun, and Logan Davidson. The whole squad actually could have been named, but the Blue Devils played as a unified team. They took out Richlands 34-29. Carson Jenkins had 2 huge interceptions for the game, as well as scoring 2 touchdowns. He ran it in from 41 yards out, as well as caught a 77-yard bomb from Luke Reed. DeAndre Mack had 2 touchdowns as well, 14 carries, or counting runs, 14 and 80 yards. He piled up 109 yards on 8 carries. Michael Calhoun, 2 quarterback sacks, 9 times he rushed the ball for 80 yards, and he also had that John Riggins-style 9-yard touchdown that sort of put the game out of reach. Logan Davidson was a tremendous on the offensive line. He helped the Blue Devils gain almost 400 total yards of offense, and he had several key defensive stops during the second half with the game on the line. Again, congratulations to these players. Premier Pharmacy proudly serving our region and supporter of local youth athletics for over 30 years. They specialize in creating personalized medicine and welcome the opportunity to serve you and your family. Please give them a call, 423-245-1022, or go to rxpremier.com for more. So, with all that being said, Christopher, let's talk about a new segment that we've got. It's called Tweet It or Delete It. Again, social media, the way things are, everybody sort of, Herman Edwards made a big thing about this when he was with ESPN if sometimes it's all right to type it, but don't hit send because you may not mean exactly what you've typed. So I'm going to be asking you, would you tweet or delete the following statements? Here we go. 5 of them tonight. First thing is, NASCAR will never be as popular as it was in the late 90s and early 2000s. Would you tweet or delete that?
Joe, I'm a huge NASCAR fan. I love the sport dearly.
That's why we went there.
Tweet it.
Tweet it.
Tweet it. Lots of people are talking about declining attendance at races, but I have seen statistics that show Major League Baseball, the NFL, college football, they're having about the similar percentage of decline. The difference is, though, a football stadium may seat 60,000 people, and you could put 30,000 in there, it still looks relatively full. A NASCAR track, they're at Indianapolis this week. It seats close to 200,000 people. You could have 100,000 people there, and it looks empty. I think more people are staying at home. They're on their smartphones watching. Teenagers aren't as interested in cars as we were growing up. I just don't think the sport holds their attention. I love the sport dearly, but I believe it's not going to reach the popularity it had in the 80s and 90s.
Tweet, he says the first one. All right, the second thing. Because of the threat of concussions and injuries, high school football will eventually be less popular than soccer. Would you tweet that or would you delete that?
I would delete that in a heartbeat, Joe. Okay. Soccer is gaining popularity, but I really don't ever see it equaling football during our lifetime in the United States. I think football has become the new national pastime, and I really do not see soccer ever equaling football.
So he's going to tweet and delete. Tweet number 1, delete number 2. Number 3, Major League Baseball is better now with more strikeouts and home runs than any other time in history.
Now, before I give you this answer, I want you to listen to my explanation all the way through. I'm a diehard baseball fan. I coach a baseball team at school.
Right.
Delete it.
Ooh, delete. And why
would
you say?
Hear me out. To me, the great thing about baseball is the stability of the game. I believe Babe Ruth could come out today and hit his home runs. Ted Williams could show up and bat over 400.
Okay.
Likewise, I think Aaron Judge could have knocked his home runs off of Cy Young. So I love the sport. The sport is great, but the sport was just as great